Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be connecting our front end and our back end for our Notes application. And we're also going to be deploying this application to the internet. So we're going to open both our Notes app and our backend server. Our Notes app is in the collections folder. In here, we want to navigate to the source folder and we're going to go to our services and we're going to open note.js. So this is the file that contains our communication with the server. In here, we want to change the base URL. So we're going to have /API/notes. So this is the link to our server. Next, we're going to save this file and we're going to open our terminal. Since we need to run both our application and our server at the same time, we're going to require two terminal windows. In the first one, we're going to navigate to our application, which is in collections. And in here, we're going to run npm run dev. And once our application has started, we're going to open a new terminal using the plus icon. And in here, we're going to navigate to our server, which is in the Express server folder. And in here, we're also going to run npm run dev. Now we're going to head to our browser and open our application. As you can see, none of our notes have shown up. If we look at the console, the first error says that our request has been blocked by the CORS policy. So CORS stands for Cross Origin Resource Sharing, and it's a security mechanism that prevents websites from making unauthorized requests to other websites. And in our case, it's preventing us from accessing our backend server. So in order for our server to receive requests from other websites, we need to use the CORS middleware. A middleware is typically used to intercept and modify requests and responses between two applications. So we need to use this middleware in order to get rid of the block. So we're going to open our terminal and we're going to navigate to our server, which is in the Express server folder. And in here, we're going to install CORS. So we're going to do that with the command npm install CORS. Once that's done, we need to head over to our backend, which is in the Express server folder, and we're going to open index.js. And in here at the top of our code, we're going to first import the CORS middleware. So we're going to have const CORS, and we're going to set it equal to require CORS. And once we've imported it, we need to use it. And to do that, we're going to have app.use, and we're simply going to pass in the CORS function. So now we can save this file and head back to the browser. As you can see now, all our notes have been rendered and the error has disappeared from the console. Now that our application is fully complete, the next step is going to be deploying this application to the internet. There are many services out there to do so, but what I found to be the simplest is using render. So we're going to head over to render.com and we're going to create an account. So you can click on get started and you're going to use your GitHub account to create a new render account. Since I already have an account, I'm not going to sign up again. Once you've created your account, this is what you should be seeing. But before we get started in render, we need to modify our index.js file. So we're going to head back to our code. And inside our index.js file, we're going to scroll down and at the port number, we're going to add a condition. So we're going to have or, and we're going to pass in process.env.port. So what this is going to do is it's going to use the port number defined in the environment variable, which is going to be used to deploy our application in render. And if that port number is not available, that means we're running our application locally. In that case, it's going to use 3001. Once we've changed our port number, we can save our index.js file. Now, the next thing we need to do is push our backend code to a GitHub repository. So you can do this manually, but we're going to do it from VS Code. The first thing we need to do is open our Express server individually in VS Code. So this is going to make it easy for us to create a repository. So we're going to head over to File, Open Folder, and we're going to navigate to where our backend project folder is, which is the Express server folder. So we're going to select this folder. Once we've opened the Express server folder, we're going to head over to source code, which is on the left side. And we're going to scroll down and we're going to click on the Publish to GitHub button. If you don't have Git installed on your computer, it's going to ask you to install it, which you can follow the steps there and install Git. And once Git is installed, it's also going to install an application called Git Bash. So we need to open this application and we need to set some configurations. So we're going to open Git Bash. In Git Bash, what you need to do is configure your email address and your name. So this is going to pop up whenever you push to a repository. So we're going to have git config global user.name, and in quotations, you're going to put in your name. The next thing you need to set up is your email. So we're going to have git config global user.email, and you're going to put in your email address. Once that's done, we can close Git Bash and go back to our code. Now we can press on the Publish to GitHub button, and it's going to ask us to sign in. So we're going to allow it and we're going to sign in to our GitHub account. Once you've signed in, you're going to get this option. It's going to ask you to publish a private repository or a public repository. For this to work on render, we need to make our repository public. So we're going to press on the public button. Next, we're going to choose the files that we want to push. The one thing we don't want to push is the node_modules folder. We don't need this folder because render is going to install the dependencies, so we don't need to push this folder to our repository. So we're going to untick it and we're going to press on OK. Now, if you go to your GitHub account, there should be a repository called Express Server, and it should contain all the files for our backend. Once we've pushed our backend to GitHub, we're going to head back to render. In here, we're going to press on New, and we're going to choose Web Service, and we're going to pick Build and Deploy from a GitHub repository, and we're going to click Next. And at the bottom, we can see that there is a place where you can put in the link to your public repository. So this is usually going to be github.com/, then it's going to be your GitHub username, then it's going to have another slash, and it's going to be followed by your repository name. So I'm going to put my link in. Once you put in the link to your repository, you can press on continue. So we're going to give this a unique name. So we're going to call it Notes app. Next, we're going to select a region. You can select a region that is closest to you. So I'm going to pick Frankfurt. The next thing you need to edit is the build command, which is going to be npm install. This is going to install the dependencies. And finally, we need to change the start command. So we're going to set the start command to npm start. Now we can scroll down. We're going to pick the free plan, and we're going to click on create web service. We're actually getting an error when we're trying to deploy our backend. So if we scroll up, we can see that the error is that it cannot find the module Express. If we were working locally, this could be due to the fact that we did not install Express, but since we're using render, it should install the dependencies by itself. So the problem is going to be in our package.json file. In the list of dependencies, there should be a dependency that says Express. So we're going to head back to our code, and we're going to open the package.json file. As you can see in the list of dependencies, for some reason, we do not have Express listed. So we can simply open the terminal and we can run the command npm install express and press enter. Once that's done, if we look at the list of dependencies, we should see that Express has been added to this list. So since we changed the file, we need to push the changed file to our GitHub. So we're going to open the source code again. On the messages input, we're going to put in a message to signify that we have added Express to dependencies. And we're going to click on commit. It's going to ask us if we want to commit all our changes. We're going to click on yes. And once we've committed the changes, we need to push it to our remote repository. In order to do that, we're going to press on the three dots and we're going to select push. Once that's done, we can head back to render. And we're going to go to the top and we're going to press on manual deploy, and we're going to select deploy latest commit. Now our backend has been successfully deployed. So the final step is going to be getting the production build of our front end, and we're going to connect that front end to our backend. So we're going to head back to VS Code and we're going to open up our front end folder. So our front end is located in the collections folder. So we're going to open our terminal and we're going to navigate to this folder. And in here, we're going to run the command npm run build. This command is going to create the production build of our front end application. We're going to press enter. Once that's done, if we head over to our collections folder, we can see that a new folder has been created called dist. So this is going to be the production build of our front end application. Now we need to copy this folder and we need to move it to our backend. So we're going to copy this folder and we're going to head over to our Express server and we're going to paste it in. Now if we check inside the dist folder, we can see that we have an index.html file. Now to make Express show this page, which is the front end, we're going to need to use a middleware called static. What this middleware is going to do is return the index.html of our front end whenever we request the root of our backend. So what that means is when we try to access the root link of our backend, it's going to open this index.html file. So in our Express server, we're going to open the index.js file, and at the top, we're going to add the following statement. We're going to add app.use, and in parentheses, we're going to have express.static, and in parentheses, we're going to pass in dist. So we don't need to install static since it's part of Express, and we can save this file. Now that we're using the static middleware, our front end and our back end are going to share the same address. This means that in our front end, we can use a relative link as our base URL. So we're going to open the collections folder, and in the source folder, we're going to open services and we're going to open note.js. So since this part of the link is common to both our backend and our front end, we can simply remove it and we can have a relative link and we can save this file. Whenever you make changes to your front end, you need to create a new production build. So we're going to open our terminal and we're going to navigate to our front end and we're going to run the build command again. Now this is going to update the dist folder with the changes we made, and we need to copy and paste this new updated folder to our backend. So we're going to copy dist and we're going to head to our backend and delete the previous dist folder, and we're going to paste in the new one. Now the final thing we need to do is push our front end and the changes we made to our index.js file to our GitHub repository. So in order to do that, we're going to open the Express server folder individually like we did before. So we're going to head over to File, Open Folder, and we're going to pick the Express server folder. Once we've done that, we can go to source code and we're going to put in a message. We're going to say added front end and we're going to press on commit and we're going to say yes. We want to stage all changes, and finally we're going to push to our remote repository. And that's it. We've fully deployed our Notes application to the internet, and we can get the link to our application in render. So we're going to head over to render. Since we made changes, we're going to manually deploy our application using the latest commit. And once our server is live, we can follow this link. And as you can see, we get our Notes application. And you can share this link with anyone and they can use your app. So this has been a lesson on deploying an app to the internet. Thank you for watching this video, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel to show your support.